Hi friends, today I will explain about user-defined functions in Snowflake. In a short form, we call it as UDF. So what is a UDF? Some sample UDFs in Snowflake and how to create UDFs in Snowflake. We'll see theoretically and practically. So what are the user defined functions? Okay, so in short, I'm calling UDF. Okay, every time we cannot spell user defined functions long term. Okay, so I'm calling it as UDF. So UDF allows you to perform operations that are not available through the built-in or system-defined functions. So if we see in Snowflake, not only in Snowflake, in all the databases, there will be so many system-defined functions like aggregate functions, okay, scalar functions like bitwise functions, mathematical functions, string functions, date functions, okay, and conditional functions like if else, okay, looping functions like for loop, while loop. There will be so many system defined functions. Okay, like that we have in Snowflake. Okay, so we have string functions like substring, concatenating, date functions like to date, to timestamp, date of year of, okay, and date difference, okay, date adding, uh, like that there are so many functions, and aggregate functions like calculating the sum, average, minimum, maximum, count. Okay, and when it comes to the windowing functions, there are like lead, lag, row number, okay, rank. There are so many, so like that. And not only this, there are some other like copy is also a function which is copying the data, okay, and flattening the data, semi-structured data flatten is also a function. Like that there are so many functions and system defined functions of Snowflake. But suppose if you feel some functionality is missing, and if you want to use that functionality many times in your code or in your project, then UDF allows you to create a function, okay, that performs certain operations, whatever missing in the system defined functions. Okay, so we can create UDF whenever there is a need to repeat the same functionality. Suppose I want to calculate some tax of employees. Okay, so it's not only for one employee, thousands or lakhs of employees, and I have to calculate the tax. But if you see in the system defined functions, the tax calculation function is not available. So I can create a function with the tax. Okay, and I can use it any number of times in any number of code. Okay, right? So like that, user defined functions allows you to perform certain operations that are not available in the system defined functions. Okay, and Snowflake supports 4 languages for writing user defined functions. So this is the biggest advantage in Snowflake. In general, in the traditional databases like Oracle or MySQL or Teradata, they also allow user-defined functions, but they have limitation like you have to write the function in only in SQL. Okay, but here we have advantage. We can write the functions. So if you are not familiar with SQL, okay, if you are very good in Java or Python, you can write your functions in Java or Python. Okay, so like that, Snowflake supports these 4 languages: SQL, JavaScript, Java, and Python for writing user-defined functions. Snowflake user-defined functions can return scalar and tabular results. Okay, so whenever we are calling a function, definitely it should return a value, right? So it can be in Snowflake we have advantage like we can return any type of value. It can be a scalar, that means a single value or string, or a tabular results. So if I want to return a table as output of that function, so we can do. So both are supported by Snowflake user-defined functions. And Snowflake supports UDF overloading, means it supports functions with same name but different parameters. So if you have some idea on OOPS concepts, object-oriented programming language, okay, so there is a concept called a function overloading or method overloading. If you heard about that, what is mean by overloading? So you can use the same function in multiple ways. Okay, so the function name will be same, but the function parameters or types of parameters or number of parameters will be different. Okay, so that's what we call that as a method overloading or UDF. Here we call as UDF overloading. That means we'll be using same function with a different number of parameters or different type of parameters. So if you see here example, there is a function called proc procedure. Okay, sorry, this is a function. Okay, proc calculate area. Suppose this is a function and this is different from proc calculate area. So if you see here, I'm not passing any arguments. Okay, so but if you see here, I'm passing one argument with the name radius with the type float. Okay, so if you see the name is same proc calculate area, but different parameters. Here there are no parameters. Here I am using one parameter. So these two functions are, whenever we create functions like this, it will not throw any syntax error, because this is called the UDF overloading. You can create functions with same name but different number of parameters. Okay, and if you see the second one, so proc calculate area of radius is different from proc calculate area of length and width. Suppose I can calculate the area of a circle, or I can calculate the area of a rectangle or square, right? So for that, so for calculating the area of a circle, I just need radius. That's why I'm passing one parameter. But for calculating the area of a rectangle, I need both length and width. So here I'm passing two parameters. So if you see the name, they both are same name, but with the different parameters. That means these two are two different functions in Snowflake. Okay, they are not same. That is what we called as UDF overloading. Okay, so in Java or JavaScript, we call this as a method overloading. Okay, using this function with same name, but with a different number of parameters or different type of parameters. Okay, so this is about user defined functions, and these are some sample UDFs. Okay, so there are two types of UDFs, right? Scalar and tabular. Based on the return type, there are two types. So one is returning the scalar type, and one is returning the tabular type. So if you see what is scalar type, it returns output for each input we are passing. That means whenever you are calculating some function by passing some input, definitely it will throw some output for that function. Okay, suppose if you are calculating area of a circle of radius float, okay, you are giving the radius but you are returning the area. That means for each input you are passing, there will be a output for that function. Okay, so these type of functions we call it as scalar UDFs. Okay, when it comes to the tabular, that means whenever you call a function, it will return table type data, not single value or a single string, but it will return a table. Okay, so in the table it can contain zero number of rows or one row, or it can contain any number of rows. So there is no guarantee like tabular UDFs will return some data. Okay, it can be a zero rows also, right? So whenever my query, I'm running some query inside that function, and it can be it is not returning any results. That means there can be zero number of rows, or there can be only one number of rows. Suppose if I'm calculating the count of a table, select count of star from the table, so it contains only one row. Okay, so it can return only one row. It can contain multiple rows. Suppose if I'm selecting select star from employee table, it contains many rows. It will display all the rows. So tabular functions can return zero results or one row, or it can be multiple rows. And let's see the how we are creating a function. Okay, so its syntax is create function, function name, and arguments. Okay, so you can pass zero arguments or you can pass some argument. Okay, and we have to provide return type. So that means output, whatever you are returning, we have to mention that output type. So here I am returning the area of the circle, so that is float type. That's why I mentioned returns float, and this is mandatory. Okay, so you have to put all your code in the double dollar symbols. Okay, so it's like create function, function name, returns float as, and you have to put all your code in the this double dollar symbols. Okay, so at the start and at the end you have to mandatorily mention these symbols. Okay, and whatever the code inside this is the code you are executing. sorry. Okay, so this is a scalar function. So when it comes to the tabular functions, so here I have given some example also. Suppose if I want to call this function somewhere in my SQL statement, I can write my SQL statement like this. Select area of circle and I have to pass the radius as a parameter. Then whenever I execute this statement, it will return the area of the circle with radius 4.5. Okay, so this is about scalar functions. When it comes to the tabular, so by looking at the function itself, you can say, okay, create function name. Okay, I'm not putting any passing any parameters here. I'm and I'm returning a table with the two fields. So here, as I'm returning only one field or one string, I'm just mentioning the type of that field. But here I want to return the table, right? Not a single field, not a single value or a string. So when I want to return a table, I have to mention the table, this one also, columns, list of columns in the table. Okay, suppose I want to return the name and age of the members or customers. Okay, so this is my requirement, and my select statement can be anything. Just for our understanding, for simplicity, I wrote a statement like this: select Ravi, 34, union select Lata, 27, select Madhu, 25. That means it will return three rows with two columns, name and age. Okay, so whenever you execute this, just select this function, select T. Okay, you have to write simply select T. Okay, then it will give you these three rows as output, because we are returning as a table type here. So this is how we can write both the scalar functions and tabular functions. We'll see that. Okay. So this is about user defined functions. There is nothing much in theory part, so we can see the practical part. Okay. Okay. So now let's work with the functions. Okay. So I'm using my own database because I'm not running this. Okay. Because I am already in the my own database, and I want to create a schema to store all my functions. Okay, so I'm creating schema with this name, my functions. Okay, execute button is on the top right corner. I don't like this. It should be somewhere here, right? If it is somewhere here like the classic console, it will be great. But here is on the top right corner. You are selecting from here and you have to drag till this part. I don't like here. Okay, so we have created a schema, and so first we'll see the scalar UDFs. That means that will return a what we can call a single value. Okay, so suppose I have let's use the tables available in Snowflake sample data for our purpose today. Okay, suppose I have the schema and I have some tables like orders and customers. Okay, I want to uh, in the orders table, you can see like the fields like order key, customer key, order status, total price. Okay, and I want to generate a tax based on this total price. Okay, so let's see how to do. And if you see, the tax column is not there, but based on the total price, I want to generate tax. Okay, tax for the total price. So I want to calculate a function. Okay, simple function, customer tax. Okay, based on the price. So here I have to pass price as a parameter and I want to calculate the tax. Let's see how we do that. Okay, so here the scenario one is fixed tax. That means I want to apply 10% of tax on all orders, so there is no variable tax. That's why I'm not passing any tax percentage here. I'm just passing the price as a input and I want to get the tax as a output. Okay, so create a function to calculate the tax, and scenario one is fixed tax here. Okay, so how we can create a replace function. Okay, I'm storing this function in the my function schema, and this is my function name, customer tax, and I'm passing one parameter called price, and it's a float type. Okay, decimal value. and I'm returning even float. So after passing the price, I want to calculate the tax, which is again a decimal value. So I'm returning float type as, okay. So I'm writing my code inside the double dollar symbol, and the code is simply price into 10 by 100. So if I want to calculate 10% of tax over the price, so this is my calculation, price into 10 by 100. So this is my tax value. So you don't need to mention return type here. When you are just putting like simple this one, you can put return also here. Okay, not a issue. Or you can whenever you are uh, calculating simple expression, one line expression, that means by default that is the return value you are going to return based out of this function. Okay, so let's create a function with this name. Okay, function customer tax successfully created. Now let's see how we utilize this. And suppose if I want to use if I want to grant the privileges on this function to everyone, suppose the sysadmin is creating this function and he wants all his users, okay, to they, so that they can utilize this function. So he is granting, we are granting usage on this function MyFunctions dot customer tax to public. Okay, that means anyone. So while discussing the roles concept, okay, I told you, right, by default public role will be assigned to all users. So whenever you want to grant access to everyone in the system, so you can simply grant the usage or grant the select privileges to public. That means everyone in the system they can access, everyone in the account, all the users, all the roles, they can access that table or function or procedure. Okay, that's why I'm just executing. This is just for your knowledge, how to grant privileges on a functions to other users or public. Grant usage on function, and this is the function name, and to public I'm just granting it. So this is how we can grant privileges on the functions and procedures to public or other users or other roles. Okay, and let's see, suppose I have a query like select order key, order date, total price. Along with these three fields, I want to select the tax. So here I am calling that function. Okay, customer tax of total price. Okay, so select order key, order date, total price, and even for this line, for this row, I want to calculate even the tax. Okay, from this table, Snowflake sample data TPCHSF1, and this is my table. So while executing this query, I want to calculate the tax. Okay, but I don't want to calculate every time. Okay, so here not only in this table, in this SQL query, you can use this function in any number of SQL queries. Okay, I want to repeat this functionality of calculating tax. Okay, so simply I'm writing a function here, and I can use it any number of times in any n number of SQL queries. Okay, so let's run this query. So what it will do at the runtime, it will calculate this tax and it will display the results. Okay, see if you see here. Okay, so this is my order key, order date, and total price. This is 1 and 10%. So this decimal point is shifting one position left side. That means 10%, right? So the tax is this one. Like this, we can create functions. Okay, simple functions. And suppose my scenario 2, I want to pass variable tax. Suppose in one table I want to pass the tax as 10%. In other table I want to pass the tax as 5%. In some other table I want to pass the tax as 7.5%, 18%, 12%. Variable tax I want to pass. Okay, so in that case, how can you pass? Okay, you have to mention multiple arguments here. One is price, and here I am passing the tax percentage as well. Okay, so and I'm calculating my tax as like this, price into tax percentage by 100. Okay, so simple function. So now if you see the example, okay, uh, as okay, we haven't created. So I'm just replacing the same function with the two parameters. Now we can create another function also, okay, with the same name, which is different from that. Okay, So I'm just granting the privileges. It's not a mandatory action for now. And if you see the example here, I want to put 7.5 tax rate. Okay. For this orders are on this orders table, I want to put 7.5. If I have some more orders table or similar kind of tables, if I want to apply other tax rate, I can simply put here. Okay. So let's see. So here I am calculating just customer tax. I am passing total price from this orders table as one parameter and the tax rate. Okay. So here like this we can pass any value. Okay. 20%. So you have to generalize your function so that you can use it anywhere. So if you see here, you can only apply this function wherever 10% tax is applicable. But this is a not generalized one. So if you want to generalize your function, we have to try to pass the arguments as much as possible. Okay. So we operate with the arguments we are passing here so that it will be more generic. You can use that function anywhere in your project. Okay. So this is how we create functions. This is like in any databases. If you have some basic idea on Oracle or simple SQL also, you must have seen this already. How to calculate functions, how to create functions. Okay. Now suppose my requirement is I want to return the table kind of data. Okay, not a simple value or string. Okay, I want to return table kind of results. Okay, let's see how to do that. Okay, so in this example I just want to set up some sample data. I'm creating a countries table, create or replace table, countries with the country code and country name. Suppose my country code is FR, the country name is France. If it is US, United States, IN, India, SP, Spain. So this is my data. So I'm creating a table and inserting some 4 records into the table. What is the error? Okay. Okay. So I have created a table with the countries. Now I am creating one more table. Okay. With the name user address. Okay. The user address will be like it contains user ID and country code. If you see here, user ID is 100 and country code is SP. So which means SP is Spain. Okay. So but we have that field in the other table. And user ID is 123 and the country code is France. Like that, I am inserting 4 more rows with the user and country codes. Okay, so let's create this table and insert the data into this table. Now I want to write a function to get the address details with the country name, not country code, but I want to get the address details. Suppose for user 100, I want to get the name as Spain, not SP. That means we have to join these two tables. Okay, in general, in SQL queries, we join these two tables, right? But suppose I have a requirement for a specific user, I want to get the country detail. Okay, still we can put where filters there, but in anywhere in my SQL queries, okay, if I want to get a country name for a specific user, okay, how can we write that? So this is the stored procedure for this is the function for that. Okay, create or replace function. Okay, my function, and the function name is get countries for user ID. Okay, get countries for user. Okay, here I am passing the user ID as a parameter. Okay, and returns table type. So here my result will be like user ID and the country name we have to get, right? So that's why I am returning it like returning a table type. I want to get the output as user ID and the country name of that user. Okay, and as I'm writing a statement like this, just observe this. This is a little different from the actual giants. Okay, select ID. So if you see here our table, here I mention as user ID, but if you see here I'm just putting ID because I'm getting this as a parameter. Okay, user ID as a parameter. I want to select only this ID, right? I don't want to calculate the address for all IDs. Whatever the ID I am getting passed, okay, here. So I want to calculate the address. That means country name for only for that ID. That's why I'm selecting ID from C dot country name from this countries table. Okay, and so how can we join these two tables again? The address table and country table we have to join. So we are joining based on, in general we put like where a dot user ID equals to c dot user ID. But here we can simply select whatever the ID we are passing here. Okay, and country code equals to country code. So these are my two conditions. Okay, I want to calculate only for this user ID, and wherever the country code is matching between two tables, suppose FR is matching with FR, okay, then return France. Okay, like that. So this is how I have written my statement. Select ID comma country name from these two tables where user ID equals to the ID whatever we are passing in the function, and I am joining both tables based on the country code. Okay, so this is my function looks like. Okay, now let's see how we get the results. Suppose fetch country name for specified user ID. I want to specifically for one user, I want to fetch the country name. Or there can be a situation where fetch country names for all the users present in the table. Okay, so we'll see both the cases here. Now to fetch only for one user ID, how we can do? So this is like a select star from whenever you are creating a function with the tabular results, so you have to convert that as a table. Okay, so this is how you have to call your functions. Okay, if it is a table return type, table of, you have to mention table of. Okay, because you are selecting the data from table, right? Table kind of thing. That's why select star from table of, okay, my functions get countries for user 100. Okay, so if you see here 100 is one of our user. I want to get results only for this user. So what I have to do, select star from table of this function I have to mention, and I have to pass this argument 100. Okay, let's see. So in general, I can say in 99% of the projects they don't use tabular kind of functions. Okay, so if we want to generate the tabular kind of results, we use stored procedures, not functions. Okay, functions mainly used like this to return scalar types of values in 99% of the projects. Okay, we don't use this kind of functions. But for your knowledge, I'm telling you how can you create a functions with the tabular results. Okay, so it is saying for a user ID, the country name is Spain. Okay, so if I want to get it for another user, 123, okay, the country is France for user 123. Okay, suppose I have a situation where I want to calculate the uh, address, okay, country name for all the users present in my user address table. Okay, in user I have 4 members. Now I want to calculate the uh, I want to get the country name for all the 4 members, or all the 4 users. So how can you write a query? So if you remember the flatten function, okay, how we apply, the same way we apply here as well. Okay, select f dot star f dot star from, okay, these two tables, public dot user ID, because I want to get the user my user ID details are present in this table. Okay, select star from this table user address comma table of this function. Okay, table of this function, like we have seen here, table of this function. So instead of passing specific user ID, I am passing the user ID from this user address table. Okay, that's why I am putting a comma here. Okay, and writing table my functions dot get countries for user, and this is the field from this user address table, and I am putting alias name for this one as f. Okay, so I'm selecting now f dot star. That means get the user ID and country name from this table. So let's see. Now it is returning the country names for all the users present in the user address table. Okay, So this is how we operate tabular result functions. Okay. So this is maybe somewhat confusing, but if you practice 3-4 examples, so there are examples at the Snowflake documentation, but they are providing very basic, I can say basic examples. Okay, they are not even putting something like this. They are simply calculating the radius. Okay, they are simply calculating the area. Okay, but for your hands-on experience, that is enough. Okay, how to create a function, how to call that function. Okay, for that hands-on experience, you can get some examples from Snowflake documentation and you can practice with them. Okay. So this is. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you have any doubts, you can reach me on this email ID. Thank you.